Hi, I'm Dahlia at your service at ang video na ito ay 4 na parts kung saan pag-uusapan natin kung ano-ano ang mga nakasaad sa Hong Kong's Domestic Helper Contract. Dapat bago ka pumirma ng kontrata, alam mo at naintindihan mo kung ano-ano ang mga nilalaman nito. So without further ado, let's go to the video.
So, ang unang-unang makikita sa kontrata ay ang DH contract number. Usually, first is letter followed by 6 numbers. So, all in all, 7 character ang contract number. Employment contract for a domestic helper recruited from abroad. This contract is made between, pangalan ng amo ang una, and helper, ang iyong name dito, on the date na pinirmahan ang kontrata and has the following terms. 1. The helper's place of origin for the purpose of this contract is, dito nakalagay ang address mo sa Pilipinas kung saan ka nakatira. Number 2. A. The helper shall be employed by the employer as a domestic helper for a period of 2 years commencing on the date on which the helper arrives in Hong Kong. B. The helper shall be employed by the employer as a domestic helper for a period of 2 years commencing on, usually naka-blank lang to sa lahat ng mga kontrata ko, naka-blank lang siya, which is the date following the expiry of each contract number, and this one is blank also, for employment with the same employer. Comment down below kung ano ang nakalagay dito sa section na ito sa inyong mga contract papers, sa mga nagtatrabaho na dito sa Hong Kong. Kung may mga nakalagay ba dito, please comment down below para maliwanagan din ang iba. Pero usually, walang nakalagay dito. C. The helper shall be employed by the employer as a domestic helper for a period of 2 years commencing on the date on which the Director of Immigration grants the helper permission to remain in Hong Kong to begin employment under this contract. Ito ang iyong visa, kung anong date ang nakalagay doon na pwede ka nang mag-start magtrabaho dito sa Hong Kong. 3. Helper shall work and reside in employer's residence, address ng iyong amo. B. A. The helper shall only perform domestic duties as per the attached schedule of accommodation and domestic duties for the employer. The helper, B, shall not take up, hindi tatanggap, and shall not be required, hindi obligahin by the employer to take up, hindi obligahin ng employer na tumanggap any other employment with any other person. So, si helper hindi pwedeng magtanggap ng trabaho sa labas ng kanyang employment contract, hindi pwedeng mag-part-time, and shall not be required at hindi rin obligahin ng employer na tumanggap o magtrabaho sa ibang tao. C. The employer and the helper hereby acknowledge the clause 4, A, and B will form part of the conditions of stay to be imposed on the helper by the Immigration Department upon the helper's admission to work in Hong Kong under this contract. A breach of one is either 1A or B or both or A and B of the said conditions of stay will render the helper, ang helper, ikaw, and any aider, kung sino mang tumulong, sumulsol, and abator, tumulong o maghikayat na lumabag ka sa batas, kung amo mo man yan o kung sino man, will be liable for criminal prosecution. Pwedeng makulong. 5. A. The employer shall pay the helper wages of 4,630 Hong Kong dollar as per recording of this video per month. The amount of wages shall not be less than the minimum allowable wage announced by the government of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region and prevailing all at the date of this contract. An employer who fails to pay the wages due under this employment contract shall be liable to criminal prosecution. Pag hindi ka binabayaran ng tama, sakto sa minimum allowable wage ng iyong amo, ay pwede mo siyang ireklamo at siya ay makukulong. B. The employer shall provide the helper with suitable and furnished accommodation as per the attached schedule of accommodation and domestic duties and food free of charge. If no food is provided, a food allowance of 1,221 Hong Kong dollars as per recording of this video, a month shall be paid to the helper. So, 1,121 Hong Kong dollars ang food allowance kung hindi ka binibigyan ng pagkain ng iyong amo. C. The employer shall provide a receipt for payment of wages and food allowance, and the helper shall acknowledge receipt of the amount under her signature. So may payroll ka every month, nandun ang nakasaad ang iyong sahod at ang iyong food allowance. Bago pumirma, bilangin muna ang pera kung akma ba sa nakalagay sa payroll bago pirmahan ang payroll. 6. The helper shall be entitled to all rest days, statutory holidays, and paid annual leave as specified in the Employment Ordinance Chapter 57. So, rest days, may statutory holidays din, and paid annual leave as specified. Siguro gagawa na lang ako ng video para dito kasi mahabang paksa din siya. Comment down below kung gusto nyo. 7A. The employer shall provide the helper with free passage from his or her place of origin to Hong Kong, and on termination of or expiry of this contract, free return passage to his or her place of origin. So, ang employer ang magbabayad ng ticket mo from Philippines to Hong Kong. At kung terminate ka at pag na-expired na ang kontrata, free return passage, ticket pabalik sa place of origin mo sa Pilipinas ay sagot din ng amo. B. A daily food and traveling allowance of 100 Hong Kong dollars per day shall be paid to the helper from the date of his or her departure from her place of origin until the date of his or her arrival at Hong Kong, if the traveling is by the most direct route. So, 100 Hong Kong dollars per day ang ibibigay na allowance sa iyo ng amo mo pag depart mo sa place of origin mo sa Pilipinas hanggang sa makarating ka sa Hong Kong. At the same payment shall be made when the helper returns to his or her place of origin upon expiry or termination of this contract. Pag natapos mo ang iyong kontrata or terminate ka ng amo, magbabayad din ang iyong employer ng $100 per day na travel allowance mo pauwi ng Pilipinas. 8. The employer shall be responsible for the following fees and expenses, if any, for the departure of the helper from his or her place of origin and entry in Hong Kong. 1. Medical examination fees. 2. Authentication fees by the relevant consulate. 3. Visa fee. 4. Insurance fee. 5. Administration fee or fee such as the Philippine Overseas Employment Administration fee, POEA, or other fees of similar nature imposed by the relevant government authorities, and 6. Others. In the event that the helper has paid the above costs or fees, the employer shall fully reimburse the helper forthwith the amounts so paid by the helper upon demand and production of the corresponding receipts or documentary evidence of payment. So, ma-share ko lang, no, nung first time ko dito, way back 2010, ang binayaran ko itong lahat. Pwera na lang sa insurance fee dahil pagdating mo dito, ang amo mo mag-a-apply ng insurance fee. Lahat ito binayaran ko sa processing fee, including yun sa processing fee na tinatawag nila. Pero hindi ako binayaran ng amo ko pagdating dito sa Hong Kong.
Salamat sa panonood sa part 1. Please give it a thumbs up para makita ito ng ating mga kababayan na gustong mag-apply dito sa Hong Kong. Part 2,